Hi, welcome back to another edition of Relatable. I'm your host, Stephanie Michele. This is the show where we talk about exceptional human encounters, the people who make them happen, and the actions that it takes to create them. So today I thought it would be a good time to talk about maybe some unsung heroes in the space of like who really makes exceptional encounters happen all the time and we don't really think about it. So the people that I think are the unsung heroes that create these moments are comedians and musicians. And here's why. I mean, is there anything better to do with another human being than to laugh or to like celebrate and dance and sing and be in that moment with someone? I don't think so. I mean, I can think of intimate things, but I think these two things are like across the board, the best things that you can do with people. And and think about, even if you're not like with a comedian or with someone that's a musician, if you just came from a moment where you heard your favorite comedian tell jokes and you've just experienced yourself belly laughing, and now you go and meet with someone else, you're carrying a different energy. Same is true with music. If you just heard your favorite song and you go and see somebody, you're carrying a different energy. These are awesome things that we might take for granted. So I'm like, shout out to all the comedians and the musicians in the world. I would personally not want to live in a world where I could not hear music or have laughter. That would just be torture. To this day, one of my favorite things in the world is to get my mom laughing, and where she can't speak, and then I'm laughing and crying. I just love the sound of her just losing it in laughter. And I love, there's certain celebrities that stand out in my mind that have these amazing laughs. Snoop Dogg is like top on that list. His laugh is amazing. I love hearing it. Ellen, Kristen Bell, James Corbin, Seth Rogen, and of course Tiny Chef. Shout out to Tiny Chef. He's missing right now, but we hope to find him soon. I'm going to tell you about that. He's like, what the hell is she talking about? I'm going to tell you. I'm obsessed with this animated character. So if you're watching in chat today, whose laugh do you love hearing? And of course, what songs do you listen to? What are the songs that you listen to when you need to brighten your mood, when you really need to lift it up? So today, I've been humming, I guess, songs for weeks now, anticipating the excitement of our talk and our time together. So I'm really excited that joining us in the studio today is Justin Tranter. Hi! Now, Justin, this bio, you guys, listen, there's some amazing stuff in here. And I usually don't read this long a bio, but I want to get to it.
Oh, this is exciting.
I know, I'm giving you the space here.
I don't think I've ever had my bio read while I was just sitting here.
I asked that, so it's funny that you say that, because I ask every guest, after I read this bio, it feels weird to be sitting right next to them, like this close.
Yeah.
If we were on a stage and I said that.
I've done it I've been in an audience where I was getting an award or something, but never here. I'm excited. Let's do it.
You'll have to tell me how you're feeling after I read this. All right. Okay. So Justin graduated Berklee College of Music in 2002, founded a New York glam-punk firestarter semi-precious weapons band in 2006, and then launched her career as one of the industry's hottest songwriters with over 50 million single sales. I said 50 million. And 7 billion streams to date. 7 billion. I mean, come on. Justin landed their first mega hit by co-writing Fall Out Boy's quintuple-platinum, that's hard to say, Centuries. The song's called Centuries, before going to co-write Selena Gomez's Good For You, Justin Bieber's Sorry. I know everybody's going to be singing that song now. DNCE's Cake by the Ocean, that one too, sing it all the time. Let's see, Hailee Steinfeld's Love Myself, Fifth Harmony's Dope, Britney Spears' Slumber Party, Gwen Stefani's Used to Love You, hum that all the time too. In 2000 alone, they landed 4 top 10 smashes at Pop Radio, namely Imagine Dragons' Believer, dare you not to be humming that song right now, and one of my personal favorites, Julia Michaels' Issues. We all have them. Hailee's Bad at Love, and Maroon 5's Cold. Meanwhile, Billboard proclaimed Selena Gomez's Bad Liar, co-written by Justin, as Best Song of the Year. Justin won Songwriter of the Year at the BMI Pop Awards and was the only pop writer to land 2 songs on Variety Hitmakers' most consumed list. Kicking off 2018, Justin became the only songwriter nominated for both Song of the Year at the GRAMMYs with Issues by Julia Michaels and Best Original Song at the Golden Globes with Home from the movie Ferdinand. It's so cute.
They're cute.
It's so cute. Performed by Nick Jonas. And there's more. Are you blushing yet?
I mean, it's odd, but I'm not blushing. I think I'm good.
You good? Okay. It's like, yeah, tell me more. Okay, Tranter also won Songwriter of the Year in 2018, BMI's Pop Awards for the second consecutive year. Yeah. They are also nominated for Songwriter of the Year for Spotify's Secret Genius Awards. Justin is also an activist. That's a really important part of your life, huh?
It's probably the biggest part.
Justin sits on the GLAAD board of directors, regularly sings to patients at the Children's Hospital, amazing, is assembling a star-studded music council for gun safety nonprofit Everytown, yes, performs at animal rights events. We're hitting all the boxes. There's a dog usually in the studio. Likes annual animal rights events, the Mercy for Animals Gala, and I should stop commentating between. I'm losing my point.
I can hold my fingers.
Right.
Keep track.
Where you are. And Justin also gives back financially to causes closest to their heart and the places that help them become the artists that they are, such as the Performing Arts School Justin attended, the Chicago Academy of Arts. So another Midwestern person on the couch.
Yes.
Yeah. So how did that feel to hear all that?
I mean, it's amazing. It's odd, but it makes me proud.
Yeah. You should be proud.
I think that we should all be better at accepting compliments. And obviously, since my publicist wrote that bio, it's just one big compliment.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I have a really important question.
Okay.
Am I allowed to swear?
Yes.
Okay, it's one big fucking compliment.
Nice.
So I should be good at accepting that compliment, and so it's awesome.
Yes. Well, yeah. And congratulations on all that.
Thank you very much.
Because I know we're going to get into your story, and there were times I'm sure that this didn't seem like your future, right?
I was actually going to say that's also why it feels so good to hear, because it was such a long, insane journey to get there. I mean, my first record deal for the band as an artist, before I started writing for other people, I didn't get it until I was 28, which in the music business is late. Now, for real life, that's not late at all. Right. But for the music business, that's late. And so that was my first record deal. Yeah. And I was dropped from 4 record deals after that.
Yeah.
And then now I'm only 39. So it's only been in this business for 11 years, but it took me so many years to get there. Long story short, it was a lot of never giving up.
Yes.
To have that bio exist.
And then you got through you had resilient, then you got to the tipping point, and now you're on the other side.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, so if anybody was listening through my bad commentating through bio, you probably heard me use pronouns they and their.
Correct.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So my preferred pronouns are they, them, and theirs. But that sort of terminology didn't come around until later in my life. So I'm not too much of a stickler on pronouns, just because for so long I have been called he. So if you use he, it's totally fine. If you use she, that's great too. But preferred are they, them, and theirs. And what that means is that I feel like I exist, not I feel like I know I exist in between both genders. Like when people ask my mom or bring up to my mom, oh, your son is gay. And even before I had the terminology to define myself as gender nonconforming and with the pronouns they, them, and theirs, my mom would say to people, well, no, and they would of course think, they're in the Midwest, like, oh, I'm sorry, did we offend you? I don't know, were we supposed to know that? And she's like, no. I mean, yeah, you can call him gay if you want, but to me, I've always felt like he kind of is both genders at one time. So I don't know how to call him, but yes, you can call him gay if you want.
I love that your mom, even before we had these awesome terms and we were talking about this, was helping people understand, kind of that doesn't fit.
Exactly.
That's not a box that they fit in, and we don't want,
Exactly.
So
What's funny for me too, the only pronouns that do actually give me I don't know if pronouns the right word, but that give me a knee jerk is bro or dude. I can't do that one. He, I can totally fine with, but bro, dude, no. Or I have a dog, an amazing 115-pound giant German Shepherd. And when people call me his dad, I'm like, no, I'm not. I am his mother. I am not his dad. That's disgusting. So it's weird. I think pronouns are just a really interesting thing, and different people can be upset by different things. And so one thing is also so beautiful about the they, them, and theirs is that we're not assuming anyone's gender identity. Yeah. I think that's really important, because you never know how somebody feels and how they identify and so I think that they, them, and theirs is kind of safe for almost everyone until you ask and you know what they prefer.
Would you like to see us get to a point where society is really asking, like all human encounters come with the ask?
Well, I would like to get to a point where, because there's many languages and societies in this world that nothing's gendered, that their language is not gendered.
Yeah.
So I would like to get to a point where the English language is no longer gendered. And I know that's a very large ask. I know that
it's easier to learn foreign languages too without the gender in them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there are plenty of languages in this world where we don't have gendered language, and so I think that it would actually be a lot easier because. But I think we should be to a place where we do ask people what their preferred pronouns are.
We have so much. I can relate to a lot of things you say. I want to say I don't like to be called chick or sweetie, baby. Like there's those things. Chick, like, or my brother for a while would call everybody dude, including his sister. Don't like that. Don't like that. So I can understand. I appreciate, because I know when you came in, I said he, and I appreciate the energy of like, okay, let her correct. I appreciate that, and because it's okay. Like I think the challenge in the space, it's learning. And don't be afraid when you mess up. I think that a good message about this and pronouns is like you're gonna mess up. We mess up in all different ways. This is just another way that you're gonna mess up, but try.
Yeah, well, I think if especially, and I can't speak for all gender nonconforming people. I can't speak for trans people at all. Because for some people, the wrong pronouns can be very, very triggering and very upsetting. But I think that if you do mess up with the pronoun and you know that you messed up in that moment, the best thing to do is like, I'm really sorry. I know I just fucked that up. Like, blah, blah, because if you just let it go, then it creates an awkwardness in the room, and especially if you're there to collaborate or create something beautiful, if you aren't acknowledging it, then you're kind of leaving it to the person to correct you, and it just creates, so if you know you messed up a pronoun, just say it.
It's just social relational learning. You know what's coming up for me when we're talking about this is, how somebody will ask, what do you do? Okay, can you think of how many times when that's been asked, either you asked it or somebody asked you, and then you answer it or they answer it, and then the conversation ends? Because first of all, what we do as humans is not who we are as humans, right? So if you're not interested in what I just said, I do, then the conversation ends and there's some awkwardness. It's like
or if someone is the job. I know for me, when someone would ask me, before I was fortunate enough and worked my ass off enough to find the success I did find, I would have day jobs. Of course, I always worked retail, and when someone said, "What do you do?" and I'd be like, "Well, I don't really like what I'm doing." And so then there's like this almost embarrassment, because it's like, are you asking me what I do? Like who the fuck I am? And like, because for me now my job is who I am. Now I am a songwriter and an activist, which means I tell stories and I try to pay my privilege forward. Like that is exactly who I am. But when I was working in retail, I didn't hate it. I enjoyed talking to people. I thought it was fun, but that's not who I am.
You don't hate it at Christmas time. Everybody should have to bust a table at a really busy restaurant one time and work retail at Christmas.
Or just work retail ever, or work in a restaurant. So it is interesting, because the conversation, unless someone loves what they do, the conversation does stop.
I really wish, like, I want to make this a thing. Like, tell me about your career path. How about tell me about your human path? Like, tell me how you've evolved. Like, that's a really enriched question and opportunity to talk. Like, what have you learned? Like, what has changed in your life that has evolved you to be the person that you are? And career stuff will come up, right? But it's a more interesting question. Like, how we're evolving as humans is really interesting.
And we're at such a crossroads right now that I think that the conversation of how we evolve as humans is much more intense,
crucial,
than it's ever been.
Do you feel that as an activist? Do you feel like?
I feel like everything's crucial right now. It's like, obviously, especially with the climate the way it is, and climate change and climate crisis, it's like, I am an activist for so many things, and I will continue to be, and I will never stop. But you do have those moments where you're like, but if there isn't a planet, well, there'll be a planet. Mother Nature will just destroy us all, and she'll be fine. But if we can't even inhabit this planet, then what are we even talking about? So it's like the human conversation is more crucial than ever.
Yeah, I agree. Well, so let's talk about that. So I want to hear the arc story. I want to hear your tipping point. So what kept you doing? Like, so the first part from punk rock band to, how did you go from punk rock band and performing to songwriting?
Yeah.
And particularly pop songs.
Yeah, I mean, that, because there's been a couple different transformations in my life that aren't even bio-worthy. But for me, they are. It's like,
they're your human path.
Because they're my human path.
Yeah.
So it's the idea of, like, for me, it was always having this, I like to call it like delusional positivity. But I think that delusional positivity is the best thing that you can have.
Some of them.
Yeah, but you have to if you're going to try to achieve something great.
Yeah.
So no matter what level of privilege you come from, to really achieve greatness, of course, it's easier for some people. Some people have doors open for them quicker. Some people have their systemic issues they don't have to face to achieve that greatness. But for anyone to achieve greatness, you have to have a delusional positivity. There's going to be something to overcome.
Yeah.
And for me, whether it was super young and being bullied beyond belief at school, it was something that was just inside me that I knew they were wrong. And I, of course, it would ruin my fucking day. And of course, I would get scared and I would get nervous. And every time a teacher said, we need to separate into boys and girls, that always felt odd for me, no matter what. But then the bullying that I knew would come, because no matter which line I picked, I was going to get laughed at.
Would you pick the different lines?
I mean, I learned it was safer to pick the boys line. But it still wasn't safe. They would still laugh at me. Get the fuck out of this line. You're in the wrong line. Blah blah blah. I mean, I don't know if second graders were using the F word, but you get the gist of it.
But you felt like it. That's the energy.
They would definitely use the FAG word, second graders word, for sure.
Yeah.
But which is also something to really think about in language and how the society, where I think second graders are more willing, or first graders or kindergartners are more willing to say FAG than they are to say FUCK. Probably because adults in their life
so they had to learn that
don't
somewhere.
swear, but FAG to them is not a swear.
Yeah.
That's a whole other conversation. So let's get back on the path. So I always knew that they were wrong. And so even though it was stressful and it was terrifying, I almost never internalized it. It never beat me down fully.
Would you say, they'll see one day?
Oh, I would say that endlessly. They'll all see. They're all going to want to be my best friend one day, and I won't let them.
You'll be singing my songs. My songs will be making your day. Yep. And that will be my sweet revenge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was a big one. And then always it was like in those moments that also that I would find forgiveness really quickly. I remember a moment when I was on the playground, and I don't know, it was maybe, actually I know exactly what it was. It was 5th grade. And there was these girls that were becoming my friends. And we were on the playground one day, and some boys made fun of them for being my friend. And immediately these girls, which is rare, just started beating me up. And they were like, had surrounded me in a circle, and I can like literally still see their faces while they're kicking me. And it took a couple minutes for a teacher to stop it. And I remember in that moment of like immediately forgiving them, because I was like, they're just trying to survive too.
Who do you think taught you that? How did you learn that?
I don't know, because my parents are amazing at a lot of things. I'm sorry if you're watching this. They're amazing at a lot of things, but forgiveness is not one of them.
I think I'm gonna get on this wagon with you, because I think that's a Midwestern thing. Because I will say, and my family knows that I say this on the show. Both my family, both sides grew up on farms, 7, 8 brothers and sisters, right? Wow. I think they meddle in each other's life for sport, because there's not a lot to do when it's cold, and there's farm chores and stuff. Yeah. And yes, we got some grudge holders in our family too. Yeah. And it's like not communicate. They just don't communicate.
My parents' moral compass is literally perfect and priceless, and I've learned so much from it. But forgiveness is something that I think I just found.
Yeah. I don't think it's their fault. I think it's a cultural thing.
It's not their fault.
Something has happened in the Midwest.
I won the parental lottery. I couldn't be happier. But so that it was always like knowing that like the bullies were wrong, and then also not all of them. Some of them were harder to forgive than most, but for the most part, for forgiving them. And so that journey of having the confidence to know they were wrong, and then like using the forgiveness to survive for myself, you know, is kind of what brought me through everything. So then when I, you know, went to music college and some teachers loved me, well, 2, and then the rest kind of hated the music I was making and hated the person I was, because I've been out since 1994 when I was a freshman in high school. So then go to college in Boston. I thought it'd be music school, right? It would be like so progressive and amazing. No, like they're just frat boys with guitars, but even worse because they're like not bro-y enough, to use that term, to even be frat boys. They're like at music school, you know. So then they have like this self-hate that just goes on. It's very complicated. But so even like then facing weirdness at school, and the head of the songwriting department, I got an award by last year, and the head of the department wouldn't even hand me the award. So one of the songwriting teachers, Pat Pattison, who's amazing, who did like the music I was making and was totally fine with how queer I was, he gave me the award because the head of the department wouldn't even stand on stage with me. So there was another moment of going, okay, I know that you're wrong. I have the confidence to know I'm going to prove you wrong, and I'm going to forgive you because this is someone made you believe that I'm not okay, and that's not. So then
it's gonna grow.
There's air conditioning. Let it happen.
Hot
it's hot out. If you hear the AC, get into it.
It just gurgles. It's like it had a really great meal.
And
it just, see that noise?
Oh, I love it.
It's kind of, I don't know.
We should sample that.
You like it?
No, so then all these other moments. And then, you know, I was a singer-songwriter, piano-based singer-songwriter when I first got to New York. And did some really cool stuff, and I had a weekly night of, you know, LGBTQ singer-songwriters that would, every Sunday I would host it, and I would book all these different people, creating community, which is one of my favorite things to do. And, you know, then the press, even very liberal press, like the Village Voice, which was supposed to be so liberal, would say things like, well, if you want to go to like the ponsiest night that you can go to, which was like basically them just calling it too gay, you know? So all these different moments where I had to just like not give up and overcome.
I love this part of your story because I think it's amazing that you knew not to hold unforgiveness as a 5th grader. And then to just continue to practice that. Like, I believe that kind of energy takes away really positive energy, or takes away the resilience, or takes away like what you need to actually be positive and get stuff done.
100%.
So all I'm hearing in your story is like, I'm not holding this. I've got energy. I'm doing something. Something, you know. And
there's choose your battles and move forward. And, you know, I always say too, it's not about, because forgive and forget is, I think, a disaster. I think it's going to like it does ruin everyone's life, because then you forgive and forget, and then all of a sudden you bring somebody back into your life who shouldn't be there in the capacity that they're there, or, you know, because I love bringing people back in my life, but you have to sometimes understand the boundaries or have a different role in your life. And so I like to say forgive and finesse. And it's about like, you have to forgive the person or forgive the situation or forgive society, and then figure out how you're going to finesse it to move forward.
And the forgiveness, I want people to really hear this. The forgiveness is not always necessarily for the other person. It's for you.
100%.
Right?
Oh no, it's like a tool. It's like a superpower.
I agree.
It's amazing. So then started the band. The band was.
Did you have colored hair? I just want to know.
It was platinum blonde. Like totally like longer platinum blonde hair, full makeup, 5 o'clock shadow, confusing everyone. 6-inch heels always. Wearing like nude, like very thick nude tights that I would assume everyone understood.
Like Dan skin tights.
Exactly, but like 3 layers of them. And I'd assume everyone would understand that they were tights, but then like people would be like, oh my God, this person's naked and they have to be kicked out of the establishment. It was the whole thing. But started the band. That was unbelievable. We did so many amazing things. It was me and all the guys in my band are you know, cisgendered straight men. And we had this big, over-the-top, flamboyant, very queer band, even though they aren't, but the aesthetic was super queer. And that was another interesting journey, because for them, they were experiencing homophobia. Just because by association, the world kind of couldn't understand, the press couldn't understand. Very like respectable press outlets would just say that we were all queer. And if there's any older listeners, queer is a positive term
Yes.
now. I identify my gender is gender nonconforming, and my sexuality is queer. That's a whole other conversation. We can talk about it later. But just know it's a good thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing. We're saying queer. It's good.
Yeah. So really interesting to watch them because I think my femininity was so bold, and what I was singing about was so like there was no shame in my sexuality, any of that. That really respectable reporters would just assume the whole band was queer. And so it was interesting to watch homophobia through that lens because I'm so used to it. To watch people experience homophobia for the first time who aren't even homos was a really interesting process. But so we did the band, it was unbelievable. We never got as big as we wanted, you know, because our dream was to be the biggest band in the world, and so that's pretty difficult to do. And as I said, we had all these record deals, 4 different record deals, and we were dropped from them all. Well, that's not true. I just remembered the truth of the first time. I was actually I asked them to let me go from our first record deal, and they actually said yes. I was like, this is the wrong company, please let me go. So I need to edit that story, because I was dropped 3 times, so I just assumed I was dropped 4 times, but I was like, actually, no. The first time I was like, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah, this is not right.
This is not right. But so, you know, and the band we wanted, most bands would have quit, you know, like but we just loved it. And we would get on that stage, and the super fans we had, even though it wasn't as many as we wanted, they were so passionate about what they were seeing. And not the whole audience was queer, but half of it was. And I didn't even realize at the time how impactful it was, because I had such this natural confidence, and that my parents really allowed me that confidence. They never tried to beat it out of me. I just, well, why wouldn't I stand on stage in full makeup and this feminine, but leave my 5 o'clock shadow and not be ashamed of my sexuality? Why wouldn't I do that? And it took me years to realize that a lot of these fans, they didn't have that strength yet. They didn't have that courage yet. And so even though it was just like this crazy party band, there was this like deeper meaning to it that I now really appreciate, that I should have appreciated the whole time. But to answer your first question, 25 minutes later, the way I transitioned from the band to songwriting was almost an accident. It was an accident I worked really, really hard for. But the person that signed the band to our publishing deal as a band left the company, and a new woman was brought in, and I went to meet with her. And you know, normally when your champion leaves a company in any business, but especially the entertainment, you're really worried. And so we were like, fuck, like they're gonna drop us too. Like we're gonna lose our publisher now. We're just gonna lose everything. And she was like, my husband loves your band, which I thought was cool, that like that's a really straight dude liked our band. I was like, oh, good. He's like 1 of 7. And then and she was like, I listened to the new album. Your management sent me the new album you're writing. She was like, it's really a lot more pop. I don't know what's happening. We were at Epic Records at the time. And she's like, to be honest with you, I've heard it's not going well over there for your band, not for the company, but for the band. Do you want to try to write songs with and for other people while that gets figured out? And I was like, okay, why the hell not? So I went and I did that, and I didn't just go and do that. I like went and wrote 12 songs a week.
Wow.
Any session she could get me in.
I mean, for a songwriter career, like,
it's like 5 or 6 a week, and I just went super hard. And
would you say that's going ham?
That's what the kids would say, going ham. I think that's even still a little young for me to say going ham.
I'm not spelling that one out for the older folks. I'll put that in a tweet or something.
There you go. But I just went so hard. I like, and it started to really click, and I started to find this insane beauty in helping somebody else tell their story. Creating this safety in the room, creating this confidence in the room, creating this this world where they could feel comfortable enough to tell the truth. And sometimes that truth isn't always deep. You know, sometimes that truth is, I always say with Cake by the Ocean, that was a band called DNCE, and the lead singer of the band was Joe Jonas when the Jonas Brothers were on hiatus. After getting to know Joe, of course, he's a three-dimensional, deep, amazing guy, but like, he's also really funny and really hot. Yeah. So I was like, we should write a really funny, sexy song for you. Like, I think that it's not your whole truth, but that is a part of your truth. Yes. And so even I had to like really respect creating that safety for him to go, okay, I guess let's just be goofy. Like, why the hell? Why? Because as a songwriter, as a singer, he wants to be serious. He wants to be blah, blah, and he is, and he can be, and he's amazing. Yeah. But also, so it's creating that safety is not just about writing Issues with Julia Michaels, which is such a raw, emotional song. It's not just about that type of safety. Yeah. It's also, it can be anything.
Yeah, I love hearing this. So anytime I think about the creative process of collaboration, I get so excited because I think there's something very spiritual about creativity.
Oh, 100%.
Right? When you get these different energies and you've created something that's safe where everybody can do their best work, and then what happens because of that is like more than you could ever imagine, right? So I just get excited about hearing collaboration stories. So I have a lot of questions about this.
Please.
So at this time in your career, or maybe it's changed because now I think you probably could do whatever you want at this point. But do you start to think about a musician that's out there, a singer that's out there? I really want to write a song for this person, and then you start to learn about them, and then you present the song with that person in mind, or do you just write songs and let somebody at the record label say, well, I think this person would be a good match? Like,
so I think there are things called briefs where publishers, managers, they get a list of who's looking for songs and what kind of songs they want, sonically, lyrically, blah, blah, blah. For me, that has never worked. If the artist isn't in the room with me, I am basically treating my co-writer for the most part. Sometimes the ideas it's mine, and so like my co-writer is treating me like the artist. But for the most part, I think just because I'm older too, and you don't have that when you're 20 years old and you're writing songs or poetry or a book or anything, you have that like, oh my God, I have to say this right now or I'm going to explode. I have those things I need to talk about now, but it's more about like injustice and climate crisis. It's not about like a breakup, you know? But so I would always, Julia Michaels being one of my main co-writers, when I met her, she was 19, I was 33, 32, somewhere in there. I don't know, I'm bad at math, but, and we were writing, she wasn't singing her own songs yet. She would sing the demos, she would sing the fuck out of the demo, but she wasn't releasing her own music, I should say. Those were all her songs for the most part. They were her stories, they were her life, and I was lucky enough and smart enough to support her in that journey. And so we would write those songs and then find them the right home afterwards. And sometimes you would think that it would, you think, oh, this should be for this person or this person, and I'd be totally wrong, or she'd be totally wrong, but for the most part, our publisher, who's now my business partner, an amazing woman named Katie Vincent. Hi, Katie, if you're watching. She would always hear where it should go, and that really changed our life. And so, if there isn't the artist in the room, we just, or I should say, the singer. For those who don't know, like the lingo, we call like the performer the artist, and the rest of us are just writers, even though we're all artists. But you know what I'm saying. So. If the performer, the singer, isn't in the room, we just write what we think is awesome and then find it a home afterwards.
Can you think of a moment in terms of collaboration that really stands out, that maybe you went in thinking this person was going to be different and you really connected and it was like just beautiful? And
to be super honest, I think that I learned really, really early on in this, because when I first started writing with and for other people, it was not high-level sessions at all. It was just other songwriters and producers who were like trying to like make songs and get someone to cut them and hear them. So I kind of was fortunate enough to walk in to everything like you never know. You just never know. You never know And now that I'm also fortunate enough, I have young writers and producers signed to me. I tell them that all the time. You never know who that connection is going to be with. You never know which artist is going to pop off tomorrow. You don't know. And if you think you do, you're wrong, And
I actually think that's a great point about all human beings and all human encounters is if more people walked around with you never know, you could meet the love of your life in the elevator and don't know because the person was head down and you didn't say hello.
Right.
So this is really good. This is really good, not strategy, but philosophy really for life of you really never know.
You never know.
And it's worth putting a little effort and keep going. Because back to asking someone that what do you do?
Yeah.
And they don't like the answer to that, but there's 100 more things that make that person amazing and you have no follow-up questions.
100%.
And you were missing all of that wonderful stuff.
The whole interaction of what it could possibly be. And it's also too, it's just I always say it's all meant to be as long as you don't quit. And I think part of that quitting process is if you say, I don't think I'm gonna write a good song with them. I don't think I should work at that company. I don't you have to, of course, protect yourself and set boundaries for yourself and but if you don't explore it a little bit, you might have just missed, for my world, you might have just missed the greatest co-write you were ever going to have.
It's probably some of that tension is really good stuff to play around with, right?
100%.
And you don't have to talk about the artist in this ass. But can you think of a moment where you're like, man, I wasn't feeling this person, but you stayed in it and something really beautiful?
Well, actually, I can actually call it who it is because it's an amazing, amazing young artist named B. Miller, who I work with now, and we both talked about this. When we first met years ago, our first sessions weren't bad, but they weren't great. Yeah. It was whatever, and the situation it was in, it was just not great.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the amazing young writers signed to me were working with her, and she didn't want to work with me either, by the way. It wasn't, which we both talked about, and I hope she's watching this because she'll love this. And if she isn't, I'm going to show it to her because she's going to love it. But then a couple years later, just through my writers working with her and her A&R and her label being I think you should just try again. And I was like, you know what, I'll just try. And it was a Sunday. Yeah. Sunday sessions are at this point in my career, I at least try to have Sunday off, which doesn't always work, but I at least try. It was a Sunday session and we were we all almost canceled and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And we showed up that day and all of a sudden we had one of the best days ever. And it's one of my favorite songs I've literally ever written.
What's the song?
It's called It's Not You. By B. Miller. It's not you, it's me. I'm the only one I need. Ooh. It's really awesome. And it's so that's a great example of the first time we worked together, it wasn't bad, but it was just whatever, fine. Yeah. And then now I work with her. I was with her yesterday, literally yesterday. She's one of my favorite people in the world to write songs with. So it's just you never ever know. And sometimes you got to try a couple times.
Yes. Yes. I love this. Yeah. It's good philosophy for life. It really is.
100%.
It really is. Do you have a wish list of people that you want to work with? Or is it more topics or genre of songs? What?
Yeah, no, I mean, at this point, the wish list is, Stevie Nicks, of course. Beyonce, of course. But it's also, I'm working on a couple musical projects, musical theater projects, or musical.
Please do a musical about the environment.
It's funny you should say that.
Is it?
And I'm just going to leave it at that. Nice. That's actually insane that you said that.
Well, it's in the energy. It's in the air.
And when the cameras are off, I'll tell you who I'm writing it with, and your mind is going to explode.
And you guys are going to be wanting to know, and I'm going to have to keep a secret, and I will. That's awesome.
But
that's so awesome.
I am writing a musical about the environment.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. That's cool.
But so I don't know what was the question before that. The genre. So that's so I want to just kind of branch out, and I want to be able to create things that really really mean something. Mm-hmm. And I think I would love to be a part of writing protest pop songs, but that's going to require a pop star who's willing to do that. And I think most people who are going to want to write protest pop songs would probably do it on their own. Well, they are doing it on their own. Childish Gambino does not need me. I wish, hey, I'm here. Yes. But he doesn't need my help.
Yeah, so that's amazing.
So that's a big part of what I want to do. Yeah. and also too, I just started a label in partnership with Warner Records, and that's really inspiring me too, because some of the artists that I've signed, I am writing with. I'm working on their projects as a songwriter, as a creator, and some of them I'm just here to support them and help them elevate and help them shine, and that's really cool. That's a really amazing experience to. It goes beyond, it's the next step of this is not about me. When you're the songwriter and someone else is going to go sing it and it's their story and their life, it's not about you.
Yeah.
But when this is, you're just signing people and trying to give them the platform and the connections and the funds so they can live their truth and have their dreams come true. That's a whole other level of this is not about me. Now, I still make money. I'm not trying to say I'm a saint, but it is really cool that in a business sense that I can be now taking steps to really help other people's dreams come true.
Yeah, definitely. Do you remember the first time that you heard one of the songs that you worked on the radio, and what was that
I sure
moment
do.
like?
It was absolutely insane.
Freak out?
I freaked out.
Yeah.
It was Fall Out Boy Centuries, my first hit, and I had heard it on alternative radio, which was still really cool. But my band was on alternative radio a tiny bit, and that was a whole freak out. But we were barely on it. But I did hear it, I think, me singing on the radio twice, which is, I'll take it. A lot of people have never even dreamed of that. So it was really cool. But when I heard Fall Out Boy on pop radio, that to me was crazy, because it was and the Fall Out Boy song, Centuries, I only co-wrote the chorus and the post-chorus. The band wrote the verses and the bridge and everything else by themselves. But me and an amazing woman named Raja Kumari, who's an unbelievable artist in her own right now, Indian hip-hop, pop, just magical. Her and I wrote that chorus and post-chorus together, and the main lyric came from, I was watching a little mini documentary on YouTube about Marsha P. Johnson, the Black trans LGBTQ activist, and just saint and hero. She was, even by our own community, Marsha P. was never given the respect and the love and the support and the credit that she deserved for everything she did for us. And so even our own community, while she was alive, didn't do right by her. And I was that thought, though, of that, going back to, again, of they're all going to be wrong. And the idea of you'll remember me for centuries. So hearing Fall Out Boy sing that, and they didn't know that that's where the lyric came from, because it was just that one line kind of. I'm sure they interpreted that lyric in a different way and wrote the rest of the song. But for me to hear this rock band, this Midwestern rock band, secretly singing about Marsha P. Johnson on pop radio, I was well, if this is it for me, I did it. So that was a really crazy moment. And then Selena Gomez, Good For You, was the first hit that me and Julia had together, and that was my first pop star hit. So that was really crazy. But even less big as the radio is the first time I heard a major pop star sing one of my songs was Kelly Clarkson, a song I wrote called Nostalgic, co-wrote called Nostalgic. Everything I do is co-writing. So if I say I wrote, it means co-write. I've never written a hit song alone. I would never dare.
It's the
collaboration is just magic.
Part, right? It's I would think.
And I'm just not that talented, so I just can't do it.
No,
but,
you are. Come on.
But the first time I ever, because sometimes, if you're not there when they record it, you don't get to hear it because you don't want the song to leak, blah, blah. So I was in New York for meetings, and her label played it for me. And it was crazy. I had sung the demo of that song, never thought that Kelly Clarkson would sing it. Thought it was more like an alternative pop song for a guy. And Kelly Clarkson heard it and fell in love with it. And so I've been listening, because this happens. Sometimes you listen to your own demos because you just get excited. So I've been listening to myself sing this damn song for 6 months. And then I'm in New York City, and the A&R plays it for me, and I'm with my publisher, now business partner, and I just started crying. And it was this really interesting moment, because you're supposed to play it cool, and you're supposed to be oh yeah, I'm in the biz, it's fine. But it's the first time I ever heard, and I'm a huge Kelly Clarkson fan. I think her voice is heaven on earth, and she stands for great things. And heard her singing that song, and I was 33 years old in a CEO's office in New York City, just crying.
I love that you did. It was like that's real.
So that was even crazier to me than the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a big question that I want to ask because we've got to switch gears here.
Yeah. Sorry, I talk a lot.
No, it's good. Okay, yeah, this is it. So even from the moment that you walked in the studio, I can feel your energy. There's a lot of energy in the studio. You guys, I always wish I could share smells, share all the other things that go along with relating, but there's a lot of energy in the room right now. And so I'm hearing all this story. I'm hearing all your story. I'm hearing the resilience and your path and what you've done. Is there something that you do? So do you experience writer's block or any form of it, or kind of not being inspired to do something creative? And how do you, if you experience yourself down, like how do you get back up?
Yeah, so it's because of the way that I work. There's, as we talked about many times, it's always a collaboration. And so if we are stuck and we don't know what to talk about, or to write about, I should say, we just start talking. And I just start asking questions. And sometimes if it's someone you've never met before, sometimes the questions are really personal.
Yeah.
The first time I worked with Leon Bridges, who is amazing. If you don't know Leon Bridges, dive in deep. He was almost done with his album. It was like a middle of the day thing. There were only a couple hours to work. Like it was like, the guy who's producing his album, Ricky Reed, who's unbelievable and a longtime friend of mine, and he was like, "Hey, just come by, like just for a couple hours and see what happens." And so we're just like hanging, and I'm like looking at my watch, and like, we need to get going. So I was just like, "Hi, are you in love?" And he was like, "Nice to meet you." And he was like, "Well, I wouldn't say I'm in love, but I did just meet somebody, and like, she might be like my everything. It might be it." And so we wrote a song called Beyond, where she might just be my everything and beyond.
God, Justin, I love that song. When you were saying his name, I'm like, I know there's a song that I really, really like.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I love that song.
So it was like in there, and because sometimes normally you could take a couple hours, get to know the person, blah, blah, and this was just like, I just got to go for it.
Yeah.
So whenever there is block for whatever reason, I just start talking. That's kind of how I survive everything, is just start talking. But
it's also, so what I'm hearing and why I love this, and I love you being here and sharing this, again, good philosophy for relating on all levels in different relationships, is when you're not feeling something, change the energy. Yeah. And the best way to change the energy is a lot of times asking
ask questions.
A fun question.
Yeah.
Even if someone doesn't want to answer, they have the right to not answer.
Of course.
But you still get to put it out there, and just by asking, it does shift the energy in the room.
100%. And it's about asking the questions. When I say like I just start talking, I'm being half funny, but it is about asking the questions and listening, especially if it comes to creation. If you're trying to create something, whether it's in business or in music or whatever it is, so much of business is creative. And so when you're trying to create something and you're stuck, you just ask questions and listen, and then talk. If someone asks you the question, then start talking and just see.
That's going to change that's going to change the direction of whatever was happening.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it.
Speaking of questions, so the big question on the show is, take a break. I'll try to talk more. The big question on the show is, I love asking people, what does this phrase exceptional human encounter mean to you? When you hear that, like what comes to mind? And give your definition, like what it means to you. And if you have an example of like, I just had what I would define as a really exceptional human encounter.
Yeah.
That too.
For me, I think that just means honesty. An exceptional human encounter is just 2 people or 10 people or 3 people being really honest with each other. And I feel so fortunate that I get to try to create those exceptional human encounters in almost my everyday life. Yeah. Also I find being nice to each other is an exceptional human encounter. Finding that forgiveness is an exceptional human encounter. Listening is amazing. Yeah. I think that there's so many ways to define what that means, but I think of the simplest version of that to me is honesty.
I can feel that. Honesty, and there's something about pace. Like Mr. Rogers is like a hero of mine. I don't know.
As he should be.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And there's something like, I think we missed, there's something that he would do at time. Like he would slow things down. Like, this is a turtle. We're going to watch the turtle for 60 seconds. Like everything feels so sped up.
Yeah.
And when I feel something exceptional between a person, a group, or whatever, we're in a different relationship with time. Like we've either really slowed down to the same level and it's like nothing else matters, or it's that really energetic kind of like, yeah, everybody's here, we're here, you know.
Yeah.
There's something really interesting about how time plays out when people are connecting, I think, too.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And artists like, like that song has a really interesting relationship with time too. The pace of how he gets there, like
yeah, he does.
I don't have to play that. We're going to have to put that in the wrap-ups because
There
I
you
haven't
go.
thought about that song in a while. All right, so well, we get to do one more thing together.
Okay.
We might even do this. You want to roll the dice?
Sure.
I'm going out of order.
Am I ready? Is it
Yeah,
me?
Yeah. So here's the deal. So one's got all of our senses on it, and the other one is like a prompt to like go, okay, let's talk about this. So there's like dare, swap. Like we could swap a story, we could swap articles of clothing, we could look at each other's texts. I don't know. Like, I'm just throwing some stuff out there because I don't know what's going to come up. So we're going to talk about, because we relate through senses, right? So we're going to talk about a story or ask each other a really vulnerable question.
Okay.
And use that as kind of the prompt to talk about this. Does that make sense?
You're going to walk me through it.
There's no rules.
I'm just going to
First of
roll
all,
and you're going to explain
just
to me
like
what's
relating,
happening.
there's no rules.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect. Okay.
Oh, I like that spin. Okay, so we got sense of smell.
Okay.
Which I am very sensitive to smell. So so, and the prompt is, do this mean what? So in regards to smell and like using it as a something to relate with people, like, you know, we set the tone with candles and incense and things. I think about that. If you can think of a story that involves smell, and you're like, what did this mean? And we can talk about it. Or you could just ask a question around, like, have you ever had this happen to you?
I mean, I can think of many stories involving smell. The first one that comes to mind is when CBGB's was still open, which is a legendary punk club in New York. My band was lucky enough to play it in the last couple of years before it closed. And the smell of the bathroom at CBGB's, I can still smell
it
right.
It can't be good.
It wasn't good. It was also bad.
Yeah. It couldn't be good.
It was, but we felt like superstars because we were getting to play CBGB's. We actually got to play it in the last, they asked us to play it, we played it many times, but we got to play it the last week it was open.
Yeah.
We weren't on like the final 3 days that had the superstars, but we got to like start the week off.
Nice.
Which was really cool.
So this is an interesting story to me because, so you have a bad smell in your memory, and if you smell something similar to it again, it always takes you back. Like smell, like really creates a lot of memory space.
Oh, so much
right?
memory.
So you have a bad smell that connects you to a good memory. So when you smell
one of the best memories,
these bad smell, like, so when you smell a bad bathroom smell, you're going to that memory.
Well, it's a very specific bathroom smell. It's like there was cigarettes. Even though it was illegal to smoke in New York at that point, but people were still, it's like cigarettes, which is hard to smell bathroom and cigarettes now because luckily smoking is illegal indoors in most places. So it was a cigarette, it's the bathroom. I was wearing a serious amount of foundation so I could smell the makeup. You know, it's like, it requires a lot of combinations. But yeah, it was a really bad smell associated with an amazing memory.
That's cool. That's cool. I like that.
How about you?
Smell, let's see. So I would love to have a bad smell associated with a good memory. So I know I don't have that. I have more like, let's see.
Do you have a good smell associated with a bad memory?
Oh, that's interesting. Good smell, bad memory.
Maybe like,
yeah, you know, for a while, so I'm totally like pro 420, like big advocate. For, like I think it's horrible what the pharmaceutical industry has done to people across this country and the rate of addiction. And like, I wish more people were trying to use cannabis for like pain and things. And like, I love it at this point. So, but originally, so when I was like in my 20s and I lived with a guy that wanted to be in a band and we had a full studio, we were writing songs and making music, and and all the friends would come over and they'd all get high, and then they'd like mess up my house, and like I'd have to take care of that, right? So that smell was like, I didn't like that smell for a really long time, because it reminded me of like wasted time, wasted space, and me having to work really hard to like clean up my house. But not anymore.
Right.
Not anymore. Like,
okay. So it's a smell that has changed over time for you.
It
was bad, now it's good. Yeah. Well, that's amazing.
Yeah. I don't know really what the I wish I could tell you what the turning point experience was where that smell now became something good.
Well, I'll tell you the first time someone ever had. Ooh, do you hear the siren?
Downtown LA.
So glamorous.
Yeah.
First time. Pot and the smell of pot and just pot in general has changed so much for me too, because I still am not I've been high one time and it was kind of an accident, but that story's too long. We only have 6 minutes left. But the first time someone brought pot into my apartment in New York City, I was horrified. I was like, well, the police are coming. Life is over for all of us. It was nice knowing you all. And now it's like everyone around me is smoking pot at all times, and I'm happy that they're smoking pot, and it's great. So I don't know if it's I guess that smell has changed for me too.
And what's interesting about cannabis as we know it now, anyways, is it has such a range of smell. So like, I still don't like the really skunky, like really
trash pot.
Yeah, I don't like that
garbage
smell.
pot.
But like what has a little bit of sweetness to it. I'm like, oh, I like the smell.
Yeah, me too.
I like the smell.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so we get to do one more thing together.
Okay.
Yeah, you ready?
So ready.
You're so ready. So I like to issue a social challenge of the week. I'm a big advocate for learning. In this way, that I just think it's a natural order of things. I think we create pain in our bodies and our systems when we resist learning that's available to us. And so I'm just trying to help everybody have a better relationship with learning. Yeah. And one of the easiest ways that I can think to do this is just like issue these social challenges that you can do alone or with a buddy. Yeah. That allow you to experience something new. Yeah. Right? So this one's not a new thing. This is like a bring back thing. And if you want to like monitor this with me, you can change it a little bit. So I really, in preparing for you and listening to music, like, we don't like make mixtapes for people anymore. Like, and we have the opportunity to do that with like playlists on Pandora or Spotify. Yeah. But I don't know if people know that we can do this so easy. And I really want to encourage people to think maybe, I don't know, like, at least three friends that are people that you have relationships with, maybe it's a family member, that you're just going to sit down and make your version of a mixtape for them and share that playlist.
I love that.
Yeah.
I would take it one step further and have it be artists from marginalized artists, So I've made playlists before of just all trans artists. I've made playlists before of all, I go real deep, like female artists from the 90s. I make I make it, curate your playlist to where you're exposing your friends and family and you and yourself. Good point. There's so much education in that. Digging in even deeper to create a playlist that really means something and tells a story about what these people have gone through and why we should be celebrating them.
And you probably could do that really easily because more musicians in the industry. So if someone was like, I don't know who trans artists are, like, can we Google that? Or like,
you can Google that.
I mean, other sources for?
Yeah, I know for a fact on there's Billboard, obviously Billboard magazine and Billboard website. There's Billboard Pride, which their articles filter into main Billboard too. But Billboard Pride specifically, I know for a fact they do articles all the time of trans artists, gender nonconforming artists, queer artists, lesbian artists, queer artists of color. Like they break it down. Paper Magazine does that a lot too. Paper Magazine Paper and Billboard Pride. You can really educate yourself about all different types of, and these are LGBTQ specific because obviously that's who the fuck I am. Yeah. But you could create your playlist in any way.
But you know why I like this too? Because I suspect that people will find that they're already listening to some of these artists and didn't know that.
100%.
And that is beautiful. So to really understand, I think sometimes people look at me and go, okay, this is a white lady from the Midwest, and like, why does she care about the queer community?
Yeah.
She's clearly heterosexual. And for me, I think that, first of all, being your authentic self is a basic human right.
100%.
And however you express that in the experiences that you have, like, I can relate to changing identities. I can relate to different expressions of that.
Yeah.
Because I do think that I can understand, not to the degree that a trans person can, but I can understand people putting labels and identity on me that I didn't
sign
want
up
to
for.
have.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't get a chance to go, no, you're reading me like this, but I'm this.
Yeah.
And if you knew me as this, like, we would really connect.
Yeah.
We would probably be best buddies,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
So I like this. I like that criteria that you put on it, because I'm willing to bet. And you guys, if you do this and you find out that you're like, I didn't know that this person stood for this, wow, like, tell me. I want to hear about it. But what a beautiful, understanding of just our human relationship.
I'll do one too.
Okay.
I'm going to go even deeper. I'm going to do songs that had an LGBTQ co-writer in it. So it'll be all.
Can you share that with me?
I'll share it with you.
Yeah, so that I can
I'm going to share it with everybody, because it's, between Stara and Teddy Geiger and me and Sarah Aarons and Victoria Monet, and there are so many massive hit songs right now sung by huge superstars that have been co-written by LGBTQ people. So I will make that playlist for you. Oh, Shane McAnally, one of the biggest country writers in the whole world, country music, the biggest, queer as fuck.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, I love this. All right. Look at that. Look at this.
Right on time.
We're right
Perfect
on time.
timing.
Perfect timing. This was amazing.
This was amazing.
This is our first time meeting, by the way. Too,
Yeah.
And I just like.
Yeah. Next time I need to ask you more questions, because I don't know nearly enough about you.
We can do that. We have to do a big reveal after the cameras go down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, I'm holding you to that, and we'll share some other stuff. All right. Well, that brings us to another edition of the end of another edition of Relatable. As always, I'm just encouraging you to think about what you can do to make an exceptional human encounter happen today for yourself and for someone else. See you next week.
Bye. Thanks for having me.